Hi. Okay, we are going to make our drying rack this time. Now you have two options for your drying rack. Most likely you're going to take the first, which is a little bit simpler. It's a little easier. It's using the tools you've already used to make your turner. And that is using the 1 1/4 inch that you had. Now if you didn't watch the other one, you do want to make sure that you have teeth all the way around, especially if you are not using a drill press. If you're using a drill press, you got a little more wiggle room, but most likely you're going to be using a drill, which is totally fine. I just happen to have this one that I got from Harbor Freight. So you're going to put this handy dandy little thing in there. The first drill bit that you buy that's like this, you'll need to buy this piece. All the others you just need to buy the outside and you can reuse this piece. So you get that nice and tight and just tighten it up. Again, using a drill, no problem. Okay, we're gonna take our 15-inch 2x4 and we are going to find the center. So this is a 2x4 inch. It is not actually 4 inches. It's closer to about 3 1/2. So we're gonna take the 3 1/2, we're gonna divide it by 2 to make 1.75 or 1 3/4. And that is gonna be our center width-wise. And then 15 divided by 2 is 7 1/2. So we're gonna grab that as our dot for our very middle hole. So that'll be the very center spot where we're lining up the bottom piece of this. Now, if you end up with a longer 2x4 or a shorter 2x4, that's totally fine, but you do want 5 inches between your center pieces. So for this one, I'm just gonna measure from my center dot, and I'm gonna measure 5 inches, and 5 inches. Just make a quick check that I am at the 1.75, a little bit off, so I'm gonna put a little bit bigger of a dot there, a little bit off the other way, dot right there, make it a little bigger so I know that's the one I actually need to use. So there is my dots here. So I have my clamps now. If you missed before, I used the clamps partially so that if this starts spinning around, it doesn't whack me, and partially so that because this is fairly underpowered, I do a lot of up and down and up and down, and this just makes it simple and keeps it nice and straight for me. So I can move this down. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's really just aesthetics for the perfection side of things. So if you have a slightly wobbly bit, nobody's gonna notice anyway. Tighten those down. And again, you don't need to do this if you are using a drill. So you will want to put a scrap piece of wood under what you're working on so that you can actually get the whole cup through and not damage whatever you're doing underneath, or the drill bit for that matter. Either is sad. All right, take these off. Remembering that this is hot. All right, forgot this. There we go. This is still hot, so be careful. Now you'll see there's a little bit of roughness on that one side. That is obviously the bottom. You can definitely sand it down as well if you would like. Now you can leave it like this, but this is a little bit loose. So it'll sit kind of a little loose, which if you have multiple cups can be a little bit problematic. So what we can do is we can put a little bit of felt in here. Now, as you can see, this is all the felt I have left right now. So we're gonna use this for one of them, and then I have a little bit of other thick cloth that I can use for the other ones. Use a little bit of our super glue. So I'm just putting, just like we did on our turner, I'm just putting a little dollop of super glue there. Close that up. Roll this up. And then we're gonna put it in here. There. Go. And now you'll notice that that fits a little tighter. If it doesn't, you can actually use a little bit more felt and just keep going with a couple of layers until you get to a point where it's nice and tight for you. Perfect. So we've got one done. All right. So much more tight that way. Now with this having a hole in the bottom, you don't really want to pick when there's a cup because it could slide through. And you of course have to do this part. So the better way, but requires more tools, so totally fine to do it this way. This is how I did my first one and obviously how I've done this one. However, the second way uses a Forstner bit. So if you happen to have one of these, I would not suggest doing this one with a drill either. I would suggest it only if you have a drill press. So that is something else to keep in mind, but I happen to have one, so I figured I'd show you. So with the Forstner bit, we're not actually, you see how the flat, so it's gonna slough off layer after layer after layer. You don't actually, we're not gonna go all the way through. So with this, we wanna make sure that we know our height. So we're not gonna wanna go more than about 1 1/4 inches. What we can do with this is we can actually see, we can actually set it. So first we're still gonna do the same measuring we just did. We're gonna start it at 7 1/2. Make sure that we're halfway across. 1 3/4. There's our center spot. Measure 5 inches. If you happen to have longer, you can definitely go longer. 5 inches. Have our dots marked. Now, this right here has measurements on it. So we are going to open this up until we can fit it. There we go. Tighten it back up. All right, so we're gonna lift this up. Tighten it. Make sure that just in case it goes right into the middle. All right, so I'm actually gonna move these down. So I'm gonna set this to 1 1/4. These nuts act as a lock so that it won't go any lower than what you've set it. Still like to use clamps. And this is a 1 1/8 Forstner drill. See, you have a hole that's got a nice flat bottom, didn't go through, and this fits no problem in it, and you could even lift this up and carry it with that, with you to somewhere else. So we're just gonna do this 2 more times. Now because this is already set, you do wanna keep an eye on it just in case it wiggles itself loose, but you shouldn't have to reset it, which is also really kind of nice. And there you have another drying rack done.